God, my God, but I can't help it, I want you. I can't stop and look the other way.
Hi, this is Rana, and I'm here to ask you a question. Do you know the word queer? Or, knowing the word queer, have you understood how it evolved the norms in our society? No? It's okay. Let's first define queer.
Queer is an umbrella term for sexual and gender minorities who are not heterosexual or cisgender.
So, gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered can be identified in this queer group.
Originally meaning strange or peculiar, queer came to be used pejoratively against those with same-sex desires or relationships in the late 19th century.
Now, when you go through the emergence of the queer community, it really comes from a root that traces back from the 80s to 90s. What the queer theory aims is that it explores the oppressive power of dominant norms, particularly those relating to sexuality, and the immersation they cause to those who cannot or do not wish to live according to those norms.
A lot of connotations surrounding what it means to be trans. Do you have to have hormone replacement therapy? Do you have to have surgery? Do you have to change your name? There's no right or wrong way to be trans.
Scholars advanced critical and feminist viewpoints emerging from the writings of Michal Foucault, Judith Butler, and Eve Kofosky Sedgwick, among others.
I really like the feeling how everybody can be themselves here.
So basically, queer is not just confined to any sexuality or sexual rights.
A number of influences can be detected, but the starting point for most queer theory is Michel Foucault's theses about regimes of sexuality, and the epistemological shift brought about by the emergence of the category of the homosexual, when a taxonomy of acts, such as the remarkably vague notion of sodomy, was replaced by a typology of sexual identities.
It also questions political, social, and economic power relations, and it also interrogates the notions of security. Foucault's groundbreaking linking of sexuality and knowledge to political power, and Butler's rejection of stable sexual orientation and gender identities in favor of everyday performed ones remain foundational notions. Theory does not assume a uniform access to reality, but rather acknowledges that subjective knowledge about sexuality and gender are constructed rather than pre-existent, fluid rather than stable, and not always in line with the societal norms. Kosofsky-Sedgwick's calling attention to the discursive definition of homo or heterosexuality in society further defined queer thinking.
Some of the key concepts that help us identify whether one is leaning toward this theory is the idea that all sexual behaviors, and all concepts that link sexual behaviors to sexual identities, as well as all categories of normative and deviant sexualities, are social constructs. That is, products of social and historical construction.
In this sense, queer theory has moved beyond just the experience of sexuality and genders.
Critics of the use of the term include members of the LGBT community and others who associate the term more with its colloquial usage as a derogatory insult or who wish to dissociate themselves from queer radicalism.
The development of queer theory in the international relations suggests that questions of LGBT issues in the international politics have begun to be successfully answered.